Am I the a-hole for not waking up my roommate to get her to move her car away from my Karen neighbor's mailbox? Hello everyone. This just happened, and I am fuming. All names have been changed for privacy. For some context before getting into the reason for this post, I moved into this place a little over a year ago. It's a 5-bedroom house where I rent a room, with a shared bathroom, kitchen, and other common spaces. It was affordable and close to work. Everyone who lives here works for the same company, but in different fields of expertise. In the city I live in, the company has multiple locations, as well as locations in nearby cities. The parking situation can be tight at times, with a driveway fitting 4 cars. If there is a 5th car, it gets parked in front of the house on the side of the road in a cul-de-sac. We have this neighbor, Susan, who has an issue with us parking a 5th car, claiming it blocks her mailbox. I can understand the frustration. Sometimes delivery drivers will skip a mailbox if a car is too close. I've looked up the regulations for our state, and whenever I park there, I make sure I'm far enough away that it shouldn't be a problem. Every time she has knocked, I've moved the car without issue, even if she has been verbally agitated about it. This time, however, when Susan knocked, I came downstairs and opened the door. She asked, in frustration, if the car was mine. I said no. She then demanded that I tell the owner they needed to move the car because it was blocking her mailbox. I stepped outside and saw that there was a good 5 to 6 feet of space, 1.5 to 2 meters for my non-US readers. I calmly explained, "Ma'am, the car is not blocking the mailbox." I didn't say this to her, but it was also Sunday. Mail isn't delivered on Sundays, so there was no real point in moving the car anyway. Susan didn't like this. She then claimed the car was blocking her access to her backyard and was inconveniencing her. This irritated me because I could clearly see she could access her backyard by driving through her own driveway and yard. When I pointed this out, she ignored it and said I needed to find out who the car belonged to and get them to move it, or she would have it towed. I said okay and walked back inside. My fiancé was in the room with my mother on the phone, and I explained the situation. The roommate, Rachel, who the car belonged to, was asleep after working a 12-hour shift and getting home at 2 a.m. There was no way I was waking Rachel up for this nonsense. Her leadership at work has been terrible lately, and I knew she needed the sleep. I also didn't want her dealing with Susan. After some time, I went back downstairs and said that Rachel wasn't available and couldn't move the car. Susan was on the phone, repeating what I said to the person on the other end. That's when I realized she had called the police to handle this civil dispute. After some back and forth, I explained again that Rachel's car was parked on the side of the road in front of our house and couldn't be moved right now. Susan insisted she wanted the police there immediately and claimed I was inconveniencing her by blocking access to the back of her yard. She said she didn't want to haul gravel from the front of her house to the back. I noticed Susan's child looking increasingly uncomfortable, like this was a common occurrence and he just wanted to disappear. He eventually excused himself by saying he would take groceries inside. Meanwhile, I was standing barefoot in the middle of the cul-de-sac, wearing a tank top and shorts, with no bra, while Susan sat in her car acting like I was some kind of threat, staying on the line until the police arrived. Sensing the situation might escalate, I went back inside, told my mother I had to go, and explained that Susan had called the police. Before hanging up, she asked me to update her later. I told my fiancé I would handle it and that he should stay inside, since I knew he would go into guard dog mode if things escalated. By the time I got back outside, the officer had already arrived. I walked up and overheard Susan claiming the car was encroaching on her property line and blocking her mailbox. When the officer told her the car was legally parked, she changed her argument and said she shouldn't be inconvenienced. The officer noticed me and told me to wait by the house while Susan started bristling like a cat. When the officer came over to me, I was already shaken, and my anxiety took over. I started crying. I explained the situation again, and the officer confirmed that the car was legally parked and could not be towed. Doing so would be considered theft. He also recommended that I consider getting a no-contact or restraining order, given how many issues I've had with Susan. I took his information and went back to my room. My fiancé immediately noticed how distressed I was and comforted me. I then sent a text to Rachel and the other roommate acting as the point of contact while our landlord roommate is overseas for work. So, am I the a-hole for not waking up my roommate to move her car away from my Karen neighbor's mailbox?